Okay, let's start by rubbing the hands. Rubbing the knees. And rubbing the hands again. And placing them over the sacroiliac joints. Just imagine we were able to sit in full lotus, then the heel of each foot is sort of disappearing into the groin of the opposite leg. So we have like a natural figure of eight that comes out of one sacroiliac and then into the other groin, and then out of that sacroiliac and into the other groin. So what we want to feel. And then just bring the hands around and now just pulling into the belly. So tightening and pushing out, trying to get some movement in the lumbar spine. So I have to be extra careful because it's easy to injure that part. Then alternating. So effectively, you're doing sort of really tight figures of eights in the lower dantian in the belly. So we have a basic breathing action. So in, out, in, out, in, out, which is happening all the time. And then we have this alternating one side. So the two sides of the body, left and right, are both breathing, but alternately. So as one breathes in, the other's breathing out, and it's that that enables us to move around. So that's basically walking. And then just into prayer. And now let's try work a bit on the spine. So up and down. And the hands up and out. And turning the head. And then hands behind, holding the hands, straightening the arms, pulling the shoulders back, and rolling the head. And the other way. Good. And now let's hold the elbows and leaning forwards. And then up. So one forwards, one left leg, one right leg, and then repeating. Now let's work on the heart a bit. So the hands up and out, one hand over, and now turning the head with the twisting arms. Effectively, figures of eights that sort of arms reach. Feeling that action getting into the chest. Gradually just bring the hands towards each other. So eventually just becomes the figure of eight exercise, but still with the head twisting and the spine gyrating. And then gradually reducing the size of them so that you feel it in, them enclosed in like this circle of the chest. And then back to prayer. Rubbing the hands, and we'll do the eyes. And hands over the eyes, palming. And then the hands up, extending the first two fingers, pulling the third and fourth fingers behind the thumb. And now snaking and keeping the head still, just let the eyes turn to meet the hand that's coming in towards him. And then the other side. Then the hands up and down into prayer. And then up and out again, same thing, but without moving the eyes now, just seeing this movement of the hands in the peripheral vision. And then the hands up and down again. Now feel the yin yang symbol of the head. So the circle with the sort of figure of eight enclosed, and just using the hands to trace it, but moving the head as well. Though you have this movement going on inside the skull. Great. And then just down to here. Now we'll just do a little bit for the that thread that's pulling the top of the head up. Yeah. So that one hand on the other, So just take one of the hands out and extend it out to the side. And just reaching up, and like you're just plucking something off the top of your head with your fingers. So you sort of make a hook and then teasing up like a thread and just sending it as far as you can to the ceiling and then bringing the hand down, trying to make the movements as big and demonstrative as possible. And also really slow. So you're watching every part of the path. So I dip down as though I'm dipping into my skull and plucking something up. One more. Just sit a moment, just feel it. So there's something extending out of the top of the head. Similarly, there's like an extension in the tail driving down. Let's rub the hands again. And then we'll do the ears. And just bringing the hands very, very gently, touching the head with the middle of the palms pointing down the ears. and very, very gently helping the head or the neck stretch a little bit. It's amazing when you let someone else do this for you. And now just teasing the energy out of the ears to start with. Ooh. And then it just expands, so for working the whole skull. Right. And let's just feel it. So you've got this tight little wriggly figure of eight going on in the Dan Chan. You've got a bigger one here. And then there's one here as well, but it's more just a sense that the head has expanded. Now let's just try a little bit of that pulling and pushing. If you've got the stick, you can use a bit. If not, just link the fingers. And like you're very, very gently trying to pull the hands apart, but because the fingers are sticking to each other. It's a strange phenomenon energy. It's like the more gentle the force is, the more energy. And then pushing. Let's try fingertips. I just remembered this. So without the stick, so just touching fingertips. You can have them all touching or just one or two. And very gently sort of pressing in, but ooh, it's more like just a sensitivity opens up. You become conscious of the connection. The sort of fingers of one hand are bleeding into the fingers of the other. And then feel that connection and now pull the hands apart, but without the fingers separating. Then reverse it. So now the fingers, they're just sort of relaxing into each other a little bit. It's like breathing. So, when you pull the fingers apart, it's like the in breath. And when you let the fingers go in, bleed together, it's like the out breath. And then change it again. So now it's like my lower back, I'm brightening. Something is lifting inside me. Fingers trying to pull apart, but they're stuck together so they won't separate. And then breathing out, the fingers bleed in to each other. Something drops inside. And then just bring the hands down and resting the backs of the hands on the knees. And now feeling that point of contact similar to this. So if I lighten it a little bit, so it's not so heavy in on my legs, then I can get the same effect, this sense of energy being generated by this point of contact. Okay, so let's stretch the legs. First of all, just opening the legs. Ooh. And then the butterfly. And now into the kneeling for the fetus. Stretching the hands up just to extend the spine and then slowly down. Then up, separating the feet, sitting down between them. And again, down into the fetus. So stretching the hands up and down. then up. Now let's lie back. And first of all, just pull both knees up with the hands, up and apart. And then cycling. Just aiming to get the hips really free and open. The feeling that the legs can move in any direction, but also that there's some space inside the joint. Then just pull the knees up again. Then holding the right knee with the left hand, pull the left foot under. So you're trying to pull the left heel into your buttock as you pull the right knee down to the left. And then the other side. And the other side again. And the other side. And back up. And just a few more cycling. And then up into the squat. Okay, let's just start. Sort of gentle, soggy pump. There's the spring in the legs, but also I want the feeling that each time I go down, I don't come up quite as high. So I'm getting more and more sunk, more and more closer and closer to the ground. And alternating. And then some of this one, just to ease the legs. So turning and the break in the hip as well as the knee. And then riding horse. So we have the heels of the feet and we have the front of the feet. So now just settle into the heels. Imagine that they're sinking into the wet sand. So their heels are lower than the front of the foot. That's the feeling. like you're wearing Birkenstocks. And now coming onto the front of the foot. So lifting the heels up. So the heels stabilizes and rooters, whereas the front of the foot moves the body. So when you come off the heels, you become unstable, but you also become much more lively. And then rocking back onto the heels one at a time. I feel it sinking into the ground. And then I feel this one sinking into the ground. And now I have the ground, I have the earth. And that is very much connected to the sacrum. So feel the sacrum hanging down between your legs and being drawn forwards a little bit. So the sacrum is of the earth. It's the part, it's the heavy bone that you feel gravity most strongly. And then coming off the heels again. And now just let the tail go back. So the back becomes strong and swayed. And now the emphasis is on the sternum, the thymus. And that is trying to leap out and also up. And then rocking back again, the other heel down first. It sinks into the ground. And then the other one sinks into the ground. So when I come into riding horse, I'm still trying to sink despite the pain. And now just coming down, elbows on the knees, really opening the groin. And if it feels difficult, just come off the heels a bit. And hands on the ground. And then knees, elbows on the knees again. And hands on the knees. Good. And then up. And now let's just try this again. Feel the figure of 8 inside the foot. And so when we alternate the two sides of the body, effectively we're doing the figure of 8 exercise. We're doing this. So that's very much what's happening here. And then just the slow jog, so keeping the heels off the ground. Imagine someone behind you with their hands on your shoulders, basically just not letting you come up. So each movement you drives you deeper into the ground. And then riding horse again. And now moving from leg to leg. So first of all, I have to really be able to settle on one leg so that the other heel can come off the ground. I bend this knee, the heel comes up, and slowly I get pulled across. I have to be able to settle completely in this foot. So the heel, the supporting leg is the heel. The moving leg, the empty leg, is the front of the foot. So I just lift this heel. So I can lift the heel without actually coming out of this leg. Yeah, so I lift the heel and then slowly I let that pull my body. And I just try and keep the heel off the ground as long as possible. It only goes down when I really feel my weight pouring down the leg, like the glass of water. And then I just really sink into the heel. And then this knee and heel is free. And then again, this, oh, I get sucked across. And yeah, so when I work with my students, I get them like this in this leg, and then I will push the hip here so that they can't come out of the leg. And with my other hand, I pull their leg like this, and then they can really feel this feeling of just very slowly being sucked out of the full leg. So into the heel, this knee comes up, and very slowly, ooh, I get torn, sinking into the heel. That just frees up this leg. And then once it's free, I can let it pull me, but I try and keep the heel up. And now I let the heel down, really sinking into the heel before I lift this heel. Now let's try the two circles. It's sort of the same thing. You're moving side to side in the same way. But here, what I'm trying to feel here is that the lifting of the heel here, opening the groin here, so that it sucks my hand in towards it. So I lift the heel of this leg, bend the knee, bend here, and it opens the groin, which sucks my hand in. And you can really feel it when you turn towards that empty leg, the pulling leg, then it really helps open. So I'm turning toward, always turning towards the foot you're moving into. So, ooh. Again, try not to move out of the full leg too soon. That's a general rule in Tai Chi. The last thing to move is your weight. It's because it has the most inertia, so it's always going to delay. So feel it coming into the groin, this point here, but then feel it coming out of the sacroiliac and spiraling down to the ground. So it comes into here, out of the sacroiliac, and then just really reaches down into the ground. And then just into riding horse. Again, feel the ground pulling the sacrum. When, when you feel the mind with with the earth and with the effect of the earth upon the body, then the mind can't think. But the trouble with the ego is that it's always finding tricks to keep control. So what works today won't necessarily work tomorrow. Okay, let's just try some against the wall. They're just leaning and pacing, just trying to use the legs to get some push into the wall and using my arms to get some push down the body and into the ground. So I feel more and more the lower back being the center and being the strong part. and then the back against the wall. So the sacrum. And again, just sort of pacing. You don't have to move the feet, but just pushing forwards with one foot and then the other, just to get some action in the sacrum on the wall. So all the time, figures of eights. Good. And then back to riding horse. Again, it's this openness here that's important. Just exactly like riding a horse. Imagine the horses are pretty big, so your legs really do drape over it and they pull open at the groin and the hips. And then coming off the heels again. And just letting the spirit change you. So you become fierce and fiery. And then rocking back one heel, the other heel, feel them being sucked into the ground. And then when you come up, what are you left with? You know, some part of you has been drained into the ground. So what's left? It's not the mind, it's not the thinking mind, it's just the consciousness. You're just aware and very detached. Now let's try the circuit. So down the front of the body, through the groin, out of the sacroiliacs, down the backs of the legs, and then up the front of the legs, into the groin again, up the back, and down the front. So the body enclosed in a vertical figure of eight, effectively. And then just into the two circles for a few rounds, just to get into riding horse. And feel the openness in the groin, drawing the hand in. And now let's try backwards and forwards, straightening the leg and then bending the leg. And just try and get into the habit of lifting the heel when you bend the leg so that you really are pulling with the front of the foot. And you can do the form like this. And then it really gets into the sacroiliacs. So I lift the heel and it's what tears me, it pulls me apart here. So lifting the heel opens here so that it can receive the hand that's yielding in. Same here, this opens and the hand gets drawn in. Yeah, so the leg is either active with the front of the foot working or passive with the weight in the heel. What makes it difficult is that it's just changing all the time. So this foot is active. So we tend to want to keep things the same. We don't like when they change. So this heel comes up, pulls me into the leg, but then I just really have to let myself sink into the heel so the leg can become passively supportive. Just have to feel the front of the foot and the back of the foot being very different. So here the front of the foot is active, my heel comes up, and then as the weight goes into the foot, it sort of pours down the heel, and that frees up the other leg so that heel can come up. So just feel the heels. As this heel goes down into the ground, this heel comes up. As this heel goes down into the ground, this heel comes up. It's just walking. So everything we do is either variations on breathing or variations on walking. And then the other forwards. The heel comes up. It's more difficult to feel on the front foot because the back heel wants to come off the ground. So when I really support myself with this heel, this heel wants to come up because it's as though I want to step forwards. So the front foot is more difficult to get this heel to come up. I really have to sit on this heel. now let's just try a little bit more of this. So remember, as I bring the heel up, I'm actually bringing my weight into the foot at the same time. So I'm really trying to stress the foot, work the calf muscles a bit. So we really want to get out of the habit of just slipping into the back foot and giving us this feeling of space. I'm always moving into the foot that I'm turning towards. And you just really have to feel the sacrum hanging freely in the middle, but stabilizing the body, the keel of the sacrum. And now let's just come onto one foot. I want to, so first just step and then use the heel. So I lift the heel and slowly I get drawn across and then just feel the energy coming out of the sacroiliac and dipping down into the ground. And it's that enables this foot to come up. It's like it's in the mind, but I want my mind to really get down into the ground. We're so used to balancing upon our legs and remaining mentally on high. So I've just got to let that knee go out, really pull the heel up and stay in this foot as long as I can. And then I get sucked into the leg. At the last minute, the heel goes down. And as the heel goes down, the weight just pours into the foot all the way down to this heel that's penetrating the ground. So, heel goes down. It's like a real relief. So I just keep the heel up. And then there's a point where, it just has to go down. And suddenly I just get sucked down into the ground. Ooh. It's the groin here that is where the energy comes in, and the sacroiliac's where it comes out. So this stays open to suck something in, and then it comes out of the sacroiliac and spirals down the leg. And then this foot can come up. Just bring it back. So open. Feeling these points here and the sacroiliacs at the back. So when we're working on this area, if you find yourself leaning forwards or sticking your bum out, then just let it happen. So Cheman Ching's vertical spine is a very advanced part of the posture. This whole area needs to be opened up before we can even think about getting a vertical spine properly. And then bringing the feet up, but keeping the legs bent. So there's always this feeling of moving from foot to foot, gently, silently. So feel the figures of eights inside the feet. And then feel the sacrum heavy. So the sacrum, which is connected to the heels, are wanting us to be still, almost inert. And the front of the foot, which is connected to the spirit and the thymus, is very much wanting us to move. And the way the human body moves is effectively by walking. So the two sides of the body alternate. And that's our turning. And it's also the figure of eight. And now just finishing.